includes
Nesse vídeo, você vai aprender.
Hello friend, welcome back. In this video, I will start a new session. It's about how can deal with REST API and Mongoose. So that will be one of the simple projects. So first of all, I want to create one of the connection with our Mongoose server. Okay, so that is our Mongoose server. Here I want to create one of the connection, and also I will create two of this model. One will be as a user model, another will be as a task model. Okay, let's do that work. For doing this, I want to first of all install that our package.json. Just go to that view and open the terminal. And you can see that is our appropriate file location, that is our desktop, and in this desktop I have created one of the folder as a task. So if you want to create that package.json, I hope you already remember that part. That will be the npm and then init, npm init, and I want to make it every questions will be as a yes, so I make dash yes. Okay, now if you click as enter, now it will be created one of the package.json. You can see it's now created one of the package.json, which is totally fine. And also I want to create one of the connection with our Mongoose server. For the reasons here, I want to install that Mongoose. That will be the npm and the install or I Mongoose. So now I want to also install that Mongoose. Now click as enter. Now that will be install that Mongoose, all that requirement package in here. Okay, it may take little time. Better when it will be done, then I'll come back again. Now you can see our npm Mongoose is also successfully installed, right? So now I want to create one of the connection with the Mongoose. For the reasons in our task folder here, I want to create one of the new file as index.js. So into this index.js, what exactly you have to do, that will be the same procedure that I have done before. Simply go to Mongoose.js, and here I want to copy it. I simply copy it, and now in here I want to paste it. So right now I want to take that server name as a task. Okay, I name it as a task. So that will be our server name, which is totally fine, and it will be input our Mongoose. And now we are using that then method and the catch method. So if everything okay, then that will be display one of the message as a server is connected, this type of one of the message, right? So procedure will be just like that same before. Into the console log, okay, into the console log area, I want to display one of the message. It will be displayed as a database is connected. Okay, database is connected. So this type of the message will be displayed, and also I want to add that catch into the catch method. That will be the same. Here I want to pass that error, and into this error area it should be display. It should be display our this error. So into the console error. So console and then error. Into the console error area I want to display this error. Okay, simple work. Now our everything should be great. So now I want to check it. If you now click as a save all, and here I want to check with the node and index, right? So that will be the node index. If everything okay, now that should be displayed on the message as a database is connected. Now click as enter. Yeah, you can see it's now successfully displayed as a database is connected. So now we have to create two of this model. Okay, I want to create two of this model, and also before creating this model I want to create one of the schema. I hope you already remember that part. So I make it as a constant and name it as a user. And for the user I want to create another schema. Okay, schema, and then that will be the new, and then with this Mongoose, and then that will be the schema, right? So that is the schema. I simply loaded that schema here. For this schema I want to add some of the field. Like I want to add one of the name field. I want to make that name field will be as a string type. Okay, I make it as a string. So that will be the string, which is totally fine. I want to take another field as a age. Age will be one of the number type, right? So that will be the number. I want to make it as a number type, and I want to take another one as a email. Okay, email field will be as a string. I make it as a string, and then also the password, I make that password, and password field will be also as a string. Okay, I simply take that all that field in here. So now name field will be as a string, age field will be as a number type, email will be as a string type, password will be as a string type. So now I want to create one of the model for this user. So that will be same concept. That is a constant. I name it as a user, and user will be with the first of all that is a Mongoose, right? That is a Mongoose, and with this Mongoose I want to create another model. So that is our model method, and here I name it that will be as a user. I name it as a user. Great. And now I want to pass our schema all that field. I take the things with this variable. Now here I simply passed it. Okay, so I simply pass it in here. Great. And now I want to create another schema. I want to create another schema for the task. So that will be the constant, and I want to name it as a task. Okay, task schema, and then with the new, and then Mongoose. So that will be the Mongoose, and Mongoose I want to add that same as the schema. So I simply loaded that schema. Okay, and now for this task I want to take two of this field. One will be as a description, and description will be as a string type. Okay, I make it as a string type, and also I take another one is completed, and is completed I want to make it as that will be as a boolean type, right, as a yes or not. So that will be as a boolean. I make it as a boolean type. Great. Here we successfully done it. Now we have to create another model for this task. So if you want to create it, that will be the same as a constant. I hope, friend, you understand every part, because we have already done that basic concept. Now we are developing one of the projects. So that was a Mongoose, and Mongoose I want to create another model. So that is our model method, and into this model I will name it as a task. Okay, task. So I name it as a task, and here I want to pass all that our schema data. So schema data I take it with this task schema. So here I simply pass it, and here I have created our database name. Our database name will be as a task, right? So friend, now I want to organize it. Like that is our one of the model, and also that is our another model, right? If you want to segment both of this in another page, then that will be better, rather than everything will be in our index page. So if you want to do that work into the task area, I want to create one of the folder. Okay, here I want to create one of the folder as a model. I simply create one of the folder, and into this folder area I want to create one of the new file. Okay, I want to create one of the new file, and I just name it as a user.js, and also I want to create another file in here. Okay, I want to create another file as a new file, and I just name it as a task.js. So I simply created both of this file in our model folder. Okay, now I want to take our this part. That means this part will be for our user. I copy it, and now in our user I paste it, and also another part for the task I copy it. That is the schema, and then our model, right? Now I want to paste it. Great. So now if you want to actually here, if you add it, then also we have to export it, right? We have to export our user, then we are able to access our this page. So if you want to do that work, then that will be the module. So that will be the module, and with this module I want to export. So that is a module export. Export our which name, that will be the user. Okay, I want to export this user. And also the same things we have to do for our task. I also want to export our task. So I name it as a task. Okay, so that will be the task. Great. So from here I export this task, I export this user. Now I want to add both of this in our index. Okay, so right now we don't need this. I have already taken it, and also we don't need this. So both of this now we have to input in here. So that will be as a constant. I name that as a user, because from here I pass that, I export it by the user, right? And then we have to allocate our file location. That will be the require, and into this require area, first of all, that is our path. That is how you can see it's also display the model, and into this model area I want to load that user. Okay, so that will be the user. Great. And also the same, that is I want to take that our task. So that is our task, and task will be as a require. That is our require, and then first of all our model name, and that is a model, and then into this model I want to load our file name as a task. So I simply import both of these in here. Okay friend, I hope it's very much clear to you. Now I click as a save all. So in our next video I want to add some of the validation in here. Okay, in our schema, that is our user schema, that is our task schema. Here I want to add some of the validation. How can do that work? I will show you that things with the live example. Use that building all that validation. Also if you want to add that some of the custom validation, you can able to use it. For doing this, I want to make this all that our field. Here I want to make one of the object. Okay, with this object, then we can actually add that multiple validation for a specific some of the field. Like for our name field, I want to use one of the validation as a type. Okay, our type, and type will be like as a, I make it as a string. Okay, that will be the string type. If you want to add that length, like as a minimum length, maximum length for a specific this field, you can also add it. Like then you have to do that will be as a minimum. Okay, minimum length, and with this minimum length I want to make it as a 3. Okay, so that will be as a 3, and also you can add that as a maximum length, and maximum length I want to make it as a 20. Okay, I make it as a 20, and then a required, I want to make this field as a required, and required I make it as a true. So that will be actually the true. Okay, I simply added some of the building validation for a specific this field. If you want to add that some of the custom validation, you can also add that custom validations, like that is our age. Okay, for the age I want to also add another object. First of all, our type, I make this type, and type will be as a is number type. Okay, that will be as a number type. I simply added that number. And after that, if you want to add that validations, like as a less than 18-year age will be allowed for access this input field, then you can actually also add it. Then you have to add that as a validate. So that is the one of the validate method. Here we have to pass that value. Okay, value means what? Value means actually whatever the name age you will be added, so that will be the value. Okay, so that is our validate value. Here I want to put one of the condition. Here I put one of the if condition. Into this if condition area, when our value, okay, whatever the things you will be inputted, when that will be as a less than 18, okay, when that will be as a less than 18, I want to add some of the message. Okay, I want to show some of the message. So if you want to show this error message, then that will be as a throw, and the new error. Okay, new error. And now with this error I want to pass on our value. That means which things you want to visible. Better I want to use it with the back tag. Okay, with this back tag I want to use that as the age can't be, okay, age can be less than 18. So this type of one of the validation I simply added in here. Okay friend, I hope it is very much clear to you. So that is one of the custom validation, and that is our building validation for this field. And also there is another one as an email. Okay, for the email I also want to add another condition, like that will be a type. Okay, type I want to make it, that will be a string type, right? So that will be one of the string type. And here I want to do if you want to add some of the custom validation, as I told you, then that will be as a validate. And into this validate, that after that here we have to pass that our input field value, right? So that will be value. So I simply added that value. Great. So into this value area, if you want to add some of the validations, like that is actually appropriate email format or not. So as I told you before, there is also another npm package as a validator, so you can actually use it. So with this validator package, automatically that will be checked this email is appropriate email format or not. If you go to that Google and if you search with the validator, I search the validator npm. Okay, now if simply go there, and now with this you can actually add all that validation, automatically that will be actually added. So you can see that is all that validator. First of all we have to install it with the npm install and then validator. You can use it as a npm install validator, rather than you can also use it as a npm I validator. Better I copy it here. I simply copy it, and now I want to go to our project. Into this project, first of all I want to install this package. So if you want to install this package, I hope you already know what exactly you have to do. That will be as a npm I validator. Now I just simply click as a enter. Now that will be install this validator package in my system. You can see it's now successfully installed, which is totally fine. Okay, which is totally fine. So into this validator, there have all the method here. Now I want to access this method as a is email maybe. Here there is a is generations. You can see there is email, and into this is email it will be checked that your string value. Okay, here I want to right now use this one. So if you want to use this package, first of all we have to load. That means we have to input both of this in our user. Okay, so into this user area, sorry, here I want to use it. That means I want to use it in particular that position. So here I want to use it as a constant. That is a constant, and into this constant I want to first of all load that our Mongoose. Okay, so that will be a Mongoose. So Mongoose I want to load this Mongoose. That means I want to import it. That will be as a require, and require will be as a Mongoose. Okay, so I simply loaded. this Mongoose, and also I take another one as a constant, and constant that will be for the validator, and validator will be required. So that will be require, okay, require and require our name, that is a validator. So I simply loaded both of this in here. Okay, so here we have to also use it. If you go also, you can get that instruction in here, and that is our validator. You can see that is the input validator. Right now we are using this one. Okay, so now I simply loaded both of these in here, and also want to take that things in our task, because in our tags that will be also needed. Okay, here also want to take that our Mongoose, which is totally fine. Great. Now we are able to access it, and that means here for the string value, okay, into this value area I want to put one of the condition, one of the if condition, and with this if condition area, when that will be not, okay, not validator. So with this validator, not validator, and with this not validator I want to use that as a is email. Is email method. I have already discussed about that things with you. So with this it will be check when that will be not appropriate email, that means our email value, okay, that is value. When this value will be not appropriate that email, then I want to pass one of the message. Okay, here I want to throw one of the message, that will be a throw, and the new error message. So that will be a new error message, and our message will be as a email is not valid. Okay, then that will be displayed this type of one of the error. I hope friend every part is very much clear to you. So that is our validator. Yeah, I have already loaded this validator, everything is great. And also there is another one as a password. For the password I want to make this field type, and for the type I want to make it as a string, that will be as a string type. Okay, so that is a string type, and also I want to make it as a required. Okay, that will be as a required, and required will be as a true. So I simply added that as a true. Okay, now I want to check it. Okay, that means I want to add, I have already added all that validation for our every field. Right now I want to check all that our validation. So if you want to check it, now go to that index. So into this index area I want to create another function. Okay, I want to create another function, that is our function keyword, and I name it as a db. Also you have to save this data, right? And that will be one of the asynchronous function. So I make it as a asynchronous. So that will be as asynchronous function. And now here I want to do, first of all I want to name it the constant. So that is a constant, that is a constant variable, and here I name it as a user. Okay, and user I want to create one of the object for this, that will be a new user. I have already named it our model name as the user. So now I want to add that all that value, that means which data I want to insert. So first of all I add that our field name as a name, right? And for the name I want to add some of the value as a Aryan. I simply added that value as Aryan, and also after that there is a name, age, email, and then password, right? I want to add that name, and then age I want to make it as a 40, which is totally fine. And then I want to take that email. Okay, email I want to use it as a Aryan @gmail.com. Great. And also another one as a password, right? So password for the password I want to make it as a 1 2 3 4. Okay, 1 2 3 or 4 5. So this type of one of the password I simply added in here. So now we have to also display it. So I want to first of all display our db. That means this db function I want to display it. Great. And here now I want to save this data in our database. So that will be as a await, and then await user all that saved data. So I want to save it. Great. So now I want to display the message. That means display all that our error message. If you want to display this error message, we can display it with the try catch. Remember, we have already discussed about that things with you. That will be the try. So if there have everything okay, then that will be try, rather than that will be into the catch, right? So I want to use that as a catch. So there is another method as a catch method. I simply loaded this catch method, and here I pass one of the error message. So all the error I simply pass it in here. So into this try, okay, into this try area I want to take everything. I simply copy it. That means this part I simply cart it. Okay, cart it, and now into this try area I simply paste it. Okay, so I want to check that things into the console, what exactly that our user data will be displayed. That will be as a console. Okay, console log, and into this console log area I want to display our user data. Okay, here I want to display our user data, and also into the catch, that means here I want to display that error message, right? That will be the console, that is a console, and then the console log, and into this console log area I want to pass that our e message. Okay, all that message, then that will be displayed. So I simply loaded that message. Okay, so that is pretty much basic things which I have already covered. I hope you already remember every part. Now I want to click as a save all and to run this, and I want to save all the data in our database. If you want to run it, then that will be as a node, right? That will be the node and then index. So I simply run that as a node index, click as a enter. Database is connected, and also yes, you can see all the data is now successfully saved in our database. Okay, so it's display in our console because of all into the console log area I have displayed that user, right? So that is all that our user data. Now this data is visible, and also we get it in our database. Now go to the database, I want to refresh it. Yes, you can see there is a new database I have created as a task. Now if you open this task, and you can see there is a user. So here into this user area I have inserted some of the data. Yes, you can see it's now successfully inserted this data in our database. Right? So here everything is okay because I have already maintained all that our validation process, like our name field. I have already added some of the name field validation as a, that should be the minimum length as a 3, maximum length as a 20, so which is totally fine. Age, that is for the age, I have already added that validation as a, when that will be as a less than 18, then that will be display this type of the error message. But here I make it as a 40, that means that its condition is totally fine. Email is appropriate, password is appropriate, right? For the reasons here I didn't get any error, and we successfully insert this data in our database. So now I want to add some of the invalid data. That means here I will actually add the 2. I want to make it as a 17 or 16. I want to add inappropriate email address. I want to check all that our validation, right? Here I have already added all that our validation. Now one by one I want to check all that validation. Then I have to continue this process in our next video. I will show you that things with the successfully insert all the data in our database. Right now I want to check all that our validation. Like if you go to our user, for the user our name field I make it as a minimum length as a 3, but right now if you make it as a 2, like I make it as a 2, one of the character, and now if you click as a save all, and now I want to run our server again. Okay, here I want to do, that is actually our server. Here I want to run that server as a node and then index. Now click as a enter. Now that should be display one of the message. You can see as a user validation failed. Name path as a name as a air is shorter than that minimum allowed length as a 3. Okay, you can see it successfully get this error. So if you want to display this error in very locative way, then you can actually use one of the package. You can install one of the package as a npm. They have the another package. Okay, npm and then install colors. So that will be as a npm install color. So if you now click as a enter, now that will be install one of the package in here, then our message will be display in very locative way. So if you search in npm colors in Google, you will get this type of package. Okay, I have already installed it, and first of all we have to just simply import it. Okay, here I want to do and to import, that is a constant. That is a constant. I want to do and to name it as a colors. Okay, colors, and colors here we have to require it. We have to require these colors. Okay, here I simply want to do and to require it. That will be the colors. So make that sure you load it. Okay, see here I simply import these colors. Now I want to do our messages. I want to display this message with this color. That means that is our error message, right? So into this error message, now I want to change it. Here I want to add one of the format, which format you want to display. I make it as a colors, and I also want to make it as a red. That will be as a red type. And then I want to make it as an underline. Okay, that will be as an underline, and also I want to make it as a bold. So then that will be display in just with this format. Okay, here I simply added our message. Okay, so that will be our error, and this our error message. So then our message will be displayed with our this condition. Which color will be as a red, that will be as an underline, and that will be as a bold. Now if you want to check it again, now click as a save all, and now I want to check again with this node and then index. Now click as a enter. Yes, you can see now that is actually displayed like that way, which is very lucrative, right? You can see there is the same message, but right now that is our formatted as a color is a red, underline, and there is underline, and also there is a bold. Okay. So here we checked our name field, right? We checked that name field, our first validation. That means our maximum length, minimum length is now perfectly get this error, and also I make it as a required as a true. So if you make it as a, like I remove it, okay, I remove this name, now click as a save all, and now here I want to run it again. I want to run that node, okay, node and then index. Now click as a enter. Now that should be get another one, but here it's inserted this data without name. If you go, you can see that will be as a required, not that required. That will be as a required. So that is a required as a true. And also here I have already added, you can see that will be as a required. I have already used it in password is perfect. So now that should be obviously on the required, not that required. Okay. Now let's check this out. Click as a save all. I want to run it again, and then node, and then I want to use it as a index. Now click as a enter. Yes, you can see now it's perfect. Now it's perfectly get that our validation as user validation failed, name path name is required. Before it's already saved this data in our database. If you go to our database, now I want to refresh it. You can see without name actually is inserted this data. So better I want to remove this data. I simply delete it. Great. I hope you get some of the idea. That means our name field, our minimum length, maximum length, required, every validation is now successfully get right? Now I want to check our another validation that will be as age. So first of all, I want to make it, click as a control set, and name, I name it as Aryan. Okay, Aryan. And length I want to do right now, I make it as a 10. Okay, age I make it as 10, but here our condition that will be as a minimum less than 18, right? If they have minimum less than 18, then that will be display on the message as the age cannot be less than 18, then that will be display over this message. Now let's check this out. Click as a save all. In our index I have made it and take it as a 10. Right now I want to check it again as a node index. Okay, index. Now click as a enter. Yes, you can see it's now successfully get our this error as a user validation failed, age cannot be less than 18. So when it will be get any error, it will be not save this data in our database, right? After all that procedure, when that will be complete, you can see it's not saved. After when all that procedure will be complete, then that will be save this data in our database. So right now I make it as a control Z as a 40, which is totally fine. Now to check our another validation for the email, here I have already created another custom validation, right? So now let's check this out. I make it as a only our email format will be as a name. Now click as a save all. I want to check it again with the node index. Now click as a enter. Yes, you can see it successfully get this validation as a user validation failed, email is not valid. Okay, great. So here this validation is also successfully working. That means our email is working. And also if you want to check that password field is the required. So if you delete this password, okay, I just simply remove it. Now click as a save all. And now I want to check it again. Okay, here I want to check it again as a node and index. Click as a enter. Now you can see it's also get that our validation message as a password password is required. Great. That means all that our validation is successfully working, right? So now I want to add that another sanitization. So what is exactly that sanitization? Sanitization is that when your everything is perfect, when this data will be inserted in your database, if you want to add some of the condition, like it should be insert this data in our database in proper. Okay, so here if you want to add it like if there have any spaces in your name, okay, if there have any spaces in your name, if you want to just sanitize it, you can actually sanitize it. That means all that your spaces, it should be automatically remove these spaces and it should be save this only the name. So if you want to do that work, you can do that work with using that sanitize. Here there is also another function as a trim. Okay, here we have to make it as a trim, and trim I want to make this trim as a true. Okay, that will be the true. That means right now if there have any spaces in your string value, that is our name field, into the name field, if there have any spaces, then automatically with this trim it will be remove all that spaces. And also like as the email, for the email, if you want to make this email, whatever the email will be submitted, if you want to make this email as a unique, then you can actually do that work with using that sanitization. Like here for the email, I want to add another one. Okay, I want to add another one as a, you can make it as a required also. I want to make this as a required, and then required I make it as a true. Okay, I make it as a true, and I want to add another sanitization that will be as a unique. Okay, that means this email will be as a unique in our database. If there have any repetitive email, that means the same email, then that will be actually not executed. So here I make it as a unique as a true. Okay, true. That means right now our email should be as a true when it will be save this data. Like if you go to our database, into the database I have already added one of the email as a aryan@gmail.com. So right now I make this field as a unique. Okay, that is email will be unique in our database. So if you now save again with the aryan@gmail.com, then that will be not inserted in our database. So we can actually manage everything with this sanitization as a unique, and also the trim for it will be remove all that your spaces. Just simply remember all that sanitization code. Okay friend, so if you also want to add another one like as a lowercase, all that if you pass anything in uppercase in here, automatically that will be changed in our database with the lowercase. So for the lowercase, there is also another sanitization that will be as a lower case. Okay, lowercase I want to make it as a true, so that will be as a true. Okay, and also if you want to add the trim, you can also add the trim. As I told you, trim will be remove all that your spaces, so now that will be as a true. Great. So now if you want to check it, click as a save all. Now I want to insert some of the proper data, name as a Aryan, and to this name area I want to pass some of the spaces. Okay, here I simply pass some of the spaces, and email that should be as a unique. So for the reasons here I make another one as a kazi@gmail.com. Now if you click as a save all, and now I want to store this data as a node index. Now click as a enter. Yes, you can see it's now successfully inserted this data in our database, and into the name area you can see I have already added some of these spaces, but here you can see it's already removed all that spaces. So that is executed by the trim. I make this trim as a true, right? For the email field, that means for the name field I make that trim as a true. For the reasons it's remove all that spaces. Now I want to check out another one. I make it as a for the email I make it as a lowercase, right? Lowercase, if you want to check it, I make that as a Kazi, as a capital Kazi. Now that should be as a change, right? I want to check it, click as a save all, and now if you go there, click as a node index, now click as a enter. Now you can see it's now display as a database is connected, and email the duplicate key error collection. You can see this email is already exist. This email is already exist in our database. If you refresh it, before I have already added that kazi@gmail.com. For the reasons you can see it's now display our this validation. That is our another validation I have added in our user as a unique, right? That is our email should be as a unique. For the reasons it's successfully get it. Now I want to check another one with the name as a Raju. Okay, I make it as a Raju, and now that here I make it total as a capital Raju. Okay, so that is a capital. Now that should be change it. Now that should be changed to the lowercase, right? Now let's check this out. If you now click as a save all, and I want to check it as a node index. Now click as a enter. Yes, you can see it's now successfully inserted this data in our database in our which format? There is a lowercase format, right? If you go to our database, now click as a refresh. Now that should be another one as a Raju. Now you can see it's now successfully inserted with the lowercase. I hope friend it's very much clear to you. Okay, and also if you want to make that name as a unique, only you have to make this name that is unique will be as a true. For the name you can actually add it. Okay, so as I told you, it will be check it in our database. If there has any duplicate user, then that will be display this type of the message. Okay, that is already exist or something. Okay friend, I hope you get some of the idea how to add some of the validation, how can check this validation, and also how can working with the sanitization. So in our next video, I will do the same things. We check this validation and also we add some of the sanitization for the user, right? And now in this video, I want to add some of the validation and the sanitization in our task. So into the task, there are the two fields. One is the description, another is the is complete. So for the description, that will be the same process. I want to add another object. And first of all, I want to use that another type, and type will be as a string type. Okay, I make it as a string. So that will be the string type. And also if you want to make it as a required, you can make it as a required. So that will be as a required. Required, I make this field as a true. Okay, I simply added that as a true. Great. And if you want to add some of the sanitization as a trim, you can also use that trim. I hope it's very much clear to you right now. Trim, I make it as a true. See, that means if you get any spaces into the our description area, into the first area or the last area, then that will be remove all the spaces. Okay. And also there is another one is a boolean, and boolean I want to add another validation, our type. Okay, type will be as a boolean type. So that will be as a boolean type. I make it as a boolean. Great. And here I want to add another condition. That means here I want to add another sanitization as a default. Okay, that is a default. Default means what? That is one of the is complete boolean type, right? So here if you don't select this field, then by default which value that will be saved. Okay, so by default I want to do by default that will be as a false. So by default it should be saved as a false. Okay, and this type will be as a boolean type. Here I simply added that another one as a default. Great. So now I want to check it. Click on the save all. Now go to that index. So into this index now I want to also insert this data. Okay, so for that in our try, I simply remove everything, and that is our database. Great. So into this area I want to do first of all that same procedure we have to done, that I take another constant variable and I just name it as a task. Right, that will be the task, and then our object I pass it from here as a task. If you go, you can see I export it as a task. So I simply created this one, and then I want to do here I want to add that our description field. Our description field I want to do to add some of the description as a this is or this is task. Okay, this is task 1. I simply added that description, and also here I want to do and to display save it. So if you want to save it, that will be as the same as await, and then our task. So now with this task I want to add that save method. So that is our save. Great. So it will be save it, and also I want to display that things in our console. So that will be as a console. I want to do and to display this console, and then the console log. So into this console log area I want to display our this task, right? So that will be our task, means this task. So I simply added this task. Great. So now I want to check it, click as a save all, and here right now I want to run it again as a node index. Now click as a enter. Yes, you can see there is a successfully inserted as a description as a this is task 1 and is complete. By default you can see it's now take as a false. So here I have already make it as a default that will be saved as a false, and you can see it's now successfully added the false. If you also want to check it in our database, if you go to that database again, that is our task, right? Into the task you can see now that is successfully added as a description as a this is a task 1 and is completed as a false. Great. Everything is successfully inserted. So by default that will be your is completed will be as a false, but if you want to change it, then automatically that will be replaced with our new one. Like into the task area I want to add that our field name as a is task, right? Is completed, right? Maybe what is actually the field name as is completed. So into the is completed area here I want to do by default that will be as a false, but I want to use it as a true, so I make it as a true. Okay, so is completed, now that should be as a true. Now that should be inserted as a true data. That means it will be replace our default data. I want to simply make it again as a node index, and now click as a enter. Now you can see that is complicated. Now it's become updated as a true, and our description is the same. Here I use that same for the reasons it's inserted as a 1. If you go to our database, now refresh it, now that is our another one is added as a task. This is task 1 and is completed is updated as a true. Okay, I hope it's very much clear to you. So it's very simple here. That is all that our field. I inserted some of the data in our database. I added some of the validation. I added some of the sanitization, right? So in our next video, I want to create some of the API. How can do that work? In our next video, I will show you that things with create some of the APIs. Okay, which type of APIs I will create? Better I show you. Right now we don't need this. Better I simply remove everything from here. Okay, simply remove it. So I want to create some of the APIs. APIs means I want to get some of the data, I want to insert some of the data, I want to update some of the data, and also I want to delete some of the data. So our procedure will be here. First of all, better I put some of the node for you, and that is our node is ended. Okay, node is ended. So first of all, I want to create one of the task. Okay, that means that will be as a task. And for the task I want to create one of the tasks as I want to add some of the tasks. So that will be one of the post method. Okay, and then I want to take another one, our task will be, I want to do which data I will post, I want to get this data. Okay, so then that will be another get method. And if you want to get that a specific ID data, so which data you will insert, I want to get this data, and after that we will need that a specific some of the ID data, right? If you want to get some of the specific ID data, I want to get it, then that will be one of the tasks. And for the get a specific ID data here, that will be obviously one of the ID, right? So here with a specific some of the ID, I want to get some of the data, so that will be also one of the get method. Great. And also I want to take another one for the update. For the update, as I told you before, that will be a specific some of the ID data we will update it with the patch method. So then that will be as a patch method. Okay, and also if you want to delete this data, that means our tasks, if you want to delete it with, also we have to delete it with a specific some of the ID, then that will be as a delete method. Okay, so that is a simple one of the code application I want to develop. So first of all, I want to insert some of the task, I want to get this task, then a specific some of the ID post data I want to get it, a specific some of the ID data I want to update, and a specific some of the task data I want to delete. Okay, and also I want to do the same things for the user. So for the user, that will be the same. Okay, for the user also I want to add the same things. That will be as a user. Okay, I make it as a user, and that will be as a user. For the user, I will insert some of the data. I will get all that our user data. I will get a specific user ID data. I want to update a specific some of the user data, and also I want to delete a specific some of the user data. Okay, so that will be our API. So for doing this, we need one of the express, right? Better I want to do in our view, I open that again our terminal, and into this terminal I want to create one of the new express. That means I want to install that express. So if you want to install that express, I have already discussed about that things with you, then that will be the npm I and then express. Now click as enter. Now our express will be installed. So it's now installing. It may take little time. Okay, it may take little time, and here you can see it's now successfully installed. So when you install that express successfully, our first job is we have to take it, right? Better I copy it, and then we have to import this express. I name it as the express, and also we have to add this. That means we have to import this express, right? I simply import this express. Great. And now I want to initiate one of the app. So I hope you already remember that part. I have already discussed about that things with you. That will be on the constant. Under the constant, I simply initiate one of the app, and that will be as the express, right? So that will be as the express. I simply loaded this express in here. So I initialize it, and this express, as I told you before, that is a created an express application. Okay, here with this app, I simply created one of the express application, and I take it with this app. Now we have to define one of the port for access it. So if you want to add this port here after this, that will be the same process that I have done before. That is a constant. I name it as a port. Okay, port will be as a process, right? That will be the process and .env, process env, and with this I want to add that our port. So that will be as a port. So our port, or that will be as a 40. Okay, I make it as a 4040. That will be our port, and here I want to listing it. That means the app, and then that will be the listen method, right? The listen method, and with this listen method, here I want to pass our port. So that is our port, and here I want to add one of the callback function, right? So here we have to add that callback function. I simply added this, and into the console log, okay, into the console log I want to display some of the message. That is a console, and the console log area. Here I want to display this message with the backtick. Okay, with this backtick I want to use it as a server. Okay, server is running at port, and you can also pass your port name, so that will be as a $sign and then the curly bracket, and then that will be our port. Okay, so our port will be dynamically visible which port actually is now running. So simply I run it in here. Okay friend, so now in our next video I want to do first work. Our first work is I want to add some of the post data. That means here if you want to add that user data, I want to use some of the user post data, then we'll add that task post data. I want to insert all that post data in our Express, and also we created that server, right? Now in this video, first of all I want to create some of the APIs for add the task. Okay, so if you want to add this task, here we have to add that as an app, and then that will be one of the post method, right? So that is a task post, so I want to use that as a app task. That will be one of the task post, and our URL will be as a task. Okay, I may name it as a task. And then also we have to use one of the handler, that means a request handler. Into this request handler it will be passed two of this parameter. One will be as a request, and that will be as a response, which I have already discussed about that things with you, and then everything will be in here, right? So in particular that position, as I told you before, into the request area, right? Into this request it will be get some of the body, right? So that will be the request body. And if you also want to add some of the validation in here, you can add this validation with using that joy validation. Okay, so I hope I have already discussed about both of this with you. So better I want to create one of the fake API. I want to create it in our Postman. Now simply open your Postman first. So that is our Postman. Before I have created one of the collection as a REST API, now I want to create another new collection, and I just name this collection as a all in one. So this type of one of the name, and then I want to create this collection. I simply create this collection. So into this collection area now I want to create one of the new request as a add request, and I just name it as a store. Okay, store new task. So this type of one of the request now I want to create. Now click as a save in all in one. Now new request is available as a store task. And first of all, that will be one of the post method. I make it as a post method, and our URL will be what? Our URL will be our local host. I have already named it. That will be as a local host actually. Okay, local host, and then our server port will be as a local host, and port will be as a 4040, right? Now I want to add it. That will be in here as a local. Okay, that will be as a local host, and into this local host, and then that will be as a task. Okay, so the local host, our port will be as a 4040, and then that will be the task. So I have already added that name. Our route name will be in here as a /task. Okay, so that will be as a /task. So into this task area I want to add some of the field. If you want to add it, then go to that body and go to that row, and that will be one of the JSON format data. I simply select it as a JSON. Okay, so JSON format data if you want to add, then that will be our field name. For the task, our field name, if you go, our field name as a description, and is complete here we don't need to add it because by default that will be added as a false. Okay, so now description field I want to add, so I simply open it, and here there is our description field, right? So here if you want to add it, then that will be into the double quotation into the description, because that is one of the JSON data. So into the description I want to add another value as a this is a new one description. Okay, description. I simply added that things in here. So now if you want to post it, we have to now work in here, right? We have to work in our index. So here we have to work. So if you want to work it, first of all we have to create one of the middleware app, and then I want to create another middleware. If you want to create another middleware, then that will be the use, right? With this use here I want to pass that our express. So that is our express, and express that will be the JSON data. So I simply loaded that JSON. Okay, make that sure you load this middleware. I have already discussed about that things with you. Simply here you have to load it, And now that is our total URL, right? Here we have to now work. So here we'll get one of the requested body, right? If you want to also check it, you can check it with the console log. Better for the first time I want to check it. And there is a console, and the console log area I want to display our requested, that is always a requested body, right? That is our requested body. I simply take it in particular that position, and also I want to create another new instance that will be constant. I simply loaded that constant, and into this constant I name it as a task. Okay, I name it as a task, and then I want to create a new instance for the task. I name it as a task, right? Here I want to pass that our requested body, so that will be the requested body. Okay, I simply pass it in here. So that will be in particular that position, all that our requested body, what exactly that things I have passed from here, it will be get all the data that is our requested body. So now I pass it in our this instance as a task. Okay, so now if you also want to display the task, you can display it. Better I copy it and onto the console log. For I'm actually display the into the console log area for your better references. Then you will be understand what exactly that requested body will get, what exactly the task now it will be executed, right? And after that I want to save it. So if you want to save it, that will be another asynchronous function. So if you use that as a asynchronous, also we have to use it as a asynchronous. Remember, I have already discussed about that things with you. So that will be as a asynchronous. I simply loaded this asynchronous, and if you now display it, that will be as a await. And await, I want to save this task, because in our database I want to save it, right? So here with this await, I simply save this task. Okay friend, I hope every part is very much clear to you. Right now I want to do when that will be saved. If you want to return some of the status code, you can return it. That means that will be the return the response is status, right? So the response is status. I want to pass it as a 201. Okay, 201 response code. I simply pass it, and that will be on the JSON format data. So I make it as JSON. Into the JSON area, now I want to display some of the message with the success. So I have already discussed about that things with you. Right now I don't want to repeat it. So that will be the true. Okay, success true. And here I want to pass that all that our data that I have already get every data from our postman. I take it with this variable here. I want to pass it. Okay, simple things. So now that will be when that will be saved successfully, it will be returned our this as status code as a 201, and that will be as a JSON format. So if you want to also add that a try catch, you can also add it. Better I show you here. I also want to add the try and then catch. So I make it as a try, and then also there is another one as a catch, right? So that is what will be as a try catch. I simply loaded this try catch, and here I want to pass that our error all that value. And now into this try area, here I want to simply take everything. I simply take everything from to this position. I cart it. Okay, I simply cart it, and now into this try area I paste it. And also into the catch area, I want to display all that our message, right? All that our error message, now that should be displayed. So into the catch I want to return. So that will be the same process. My code is actually a little bit slow right now. So now there is a return that response that will be status. I want to use that status code for when that will be as an error. Then I want to get that our status code will be as a 400. Okay, and also into with the JSON format, I want to display this data. So there is a JSON format here. I want to display one of the message. Okay, one of the message as a success message, and then I want to make it that will be as a false. Okay, success message false, and then our message and message will be which one? Message will be our this catch message, right? So I want to use it as E and then message. So now that should be display. Perfect. So that is our catch, and that is our try. So that's all we have to do for add that task. Okay, I hope you already remember that part, because we have already discussed about that things with you before. Now you can see we are using it in our project. So first of all, if you want to run it better, here I want to create one of the API, right? For the API, I want to do whatever the changes I will do, our terminal will be executed. So if you want to do that work, obviously we have to install one of the Nodemon package, right? But I want to install that Nodemon. So that will be as npm, and then I as a Nodemon, and that is one of the dependency. I make it as a -d. Okay, I make it as a D. Now click as a enter. Our Nodemon successfully will be installed. It's now installing. It may take little time. Our Nodemon installed successfully, and now we have to go to our package. Into this package, in our script area, we have to work, right? So before I have used it as a server, only the server, and when that will be as a server, then which things will be executed. That means in our Nodemon, into the Nodemon index will be executed. And also if you want to add that another start key, you can use it. Like here I want to use it as a start. Okay, for the start, when that will be start, our node default index will be executed. You can actually add both of these, then that will be as a node. Okay, node index. Before I run it with the node index, remember. So if you make it as a start, then that will be run this one, or rather than if you want to make it as a server, then automatically whatever the things will be updated into the index, it will be executed with this Nodemon. Great. Now I want to run our server. Click as a save all, and now here I run as a npm run server. Right, click as enter. Our Nodemon should be executed. Yes, you can see it's now successfully executed. Great. And also you can see it's now display as a database is connected, and also its display as a server is running at port 404. Right, here I have already done this work in our index. Into this index, when that will be, you can see there is a 404, and this port I simply pass it in here. There is a server is running at port this port name. Okay. Now I want to insert it from to the Postman. So that is one of the data as a description. This is a new one description. There is a post method, that is our API URL. Now click as a send. Yes, you can see it's now successfully inserted. As a success is now display as a true. Okay, and into the task, and there is a description. This is a new description is successfully added, and is complete. You can see by default actually it's inserted as a false, because I have already made this field as a default value as a false. Okay, it's now great. And also that should be displayed in our terminal. You can see into the terminal that is also description is visible, and then is complete as a false. Is display this message because of all here. Here you can see that is our requested body, and this actually getted that our requested body this one, and also I pass that console log task into the console log, that is our console log task. Okay, so for your references I actually added both of these. Now I hope it's very much clear to you. Right now we don't need this. I want to make it as a clean. Okay, now that will be enough. So here friend, I have done it. For our which things, I have done it for our task, right? So now we can actually do the same things for the user. Better I want to continue this process. In our next video, I will insert the same things for that our task data, right? From the Postman, we have already successfully checked it. It's now successfully insert this data. If you go to your database, into this database, you can see there is also new data is inserted as this is a new one description, right? So that is the data we successfully inserted from our Postman. Great. Now I want to add the same things for the user. For the user, better I copy the total things. Okay, copy it, and now after that, I put some of the note that is for user. Okay, user add data. So simply add data, and here I want to paste it. So only that will be obviously on the post method. Our URL will be as a user. Okay, and asynchronize everything will be same into the try area. Now that should be the name as a user, and our instance will be as a user, right? That is our user. I simply loaded, and then that will be as a user data will be saved. Everything is great. That is a return status will be displayed as a success, and that will be displayed as a user, right? So that is our user. I simply pass it, and then in our catch method, return status will be 400 JSON format files, and then message error data. Great. So that's all you have to do for the user. Now let's check this out. For the user, I want to create another request in our Postman. Into the Postman, that is our all-in-one. Here I want to create another add request. I make it as a store new user. Okay, I simply added that is store new user. Click as a save, and now that will be another one is a store new user. So now we simply open it. Everything will be same. Better I copy it, and then I paste it. That will be one of the post method. Our URL will be what? Our URL will be, I name it as a user, right? So that will be as a user. I copy it, and now that will be as a user. So for the user, I want to add some of the data. If you go to that body in a row, I make it as a JSON format data, and into the JSON format data for the user, they have the 4 field, right? One is the name. So here that will be the JSON data, that is a name. Okay, name field I want to make it as a new name. Okay, I name it as a Udemy. So that will be the name. And also I want to take another one as a age. I want to make it as a 40. Okay, age will be as a 40. That is on the number type. And then the comma. After that I want to take another one. Another one will be as email. For the email I want to add that our email value. Our email value will be as udemy1@gmail.com. I am actually putting that appropriate all that our data. Okay, so that will be as a udemy.com. Great. And also another one, if you go to our code, for the user, email, and then there is a password field, right? I want to add another field as a password. So that will be as a password. And for the password I want to make that password as a 1 2 or something like that, because that will be our password. So I have already done everything for the user, right? I have already done everything for the user. So there is a post method, there is a /user. Now that should be inserted this data. Make that sure you save it, and now I make it as a post method. Now click as a send. You can see there is a success result as a true, and now it's inserted another new user data as a name Udemy, age 40, email udemy@gmail.com, and password. So if you want to check it, go to our database. Into this database right now, that is a user table, right? So into the user table, yes, you can see there is a new one is added as a Udemy and udemy@gmail.com. Perfect. That means our API executed successfully. And also if you want to check that our validation, like here I make it as a 2-letter. Okay, I make it as a 2-letter, and also the email. For the email I want to add that inappropriate one of the email. Now if you click as a send, now that should be displayed the validation. You can see there is a success message as a false, and message is displayed as a user validation failed name there is a path name UI is shorter than the 3-letter, and also it's get another validation as email is not valid, because here I didn't add any valid email. And also there is a minimum length validation. You can see it's perfectly get all the things. That means everything is great. Everything is great for our API. We successfully created this API, and now with this we can actually store this data in our direct database. In our MongoDB database area, it's successful. That our task, all that our user in our both of this table, right? There is a user all the data, and also there is a task. There is a task all the data. Now I want to get all that data. So if you want to get it, is very easy process. I hope you already remember that part. Here after this, okay, here after this I want to create new one. Right now that will be on the get method, right? I simply added that get app, and then I want to do here we have to also add that our URL will be same for the task. I name it as a task. Okay, and then we have to create one of the request handler, and the request handler, if you want to create it, that will be pass 2 of this parameter. One of the request, another is the response, right? I simply pass both of this in here, and that will be one of the asynchronous function. For the reasons here I want to also add that as a asynchronize in here. So there is the asynchronize. I simply added that things in here. Okay, so in particular that position, what exactly we have to do? Simply we have to add that our find method. With this find method we want to get this data, right? I take one of the variable as a constant, and with the constant I name it as a task. Okay, and then that will be on the await, and with this await our task model. So that is our task model. So with this task model I want to add that our find method. So that will be our find method, right? Into this find method I want to get all the data. Simply I get it and I want to return it. That means the return, I want to return with the response. That will be on the JSON format. I make it as a JSON, and into the JSON area I want to display that success, right? So that will be a success message, and success I want to make it as a true. So that will be the true, and here I want to pass our all that task. I take that things with this variable, and here I simply pass it. Simple work. I hope every part is very much clear to you. So here we don't need to pass any status code, because when it will be get all the data automatically, that will be as a 200, right? I simply add that things in here. Right now if you want to check it, click as a save all, and now go to our API. I want to create another new one. In here I want to create on the new request as a add request. I make it as a fetch a task. Okay, task data. So I simply add that name as a fetch task data, save it, and now I want to open it. So that will be the same here, but I copy it and then I paste it. That will be as a task, right? I name it as a task, and that is will be on the get method, which is totally fine. And now if you click as a send, Now yes, you can see there is a status code as of 200 and it's perfectly get all the data. So right now there is a 3 data in our database. You can see there is a 3 data and now it successfully get all that our 3 data. Now I want to do and to get all that our user data. If you want to get it, that will be just like that same. Better I copy it and after that I paste it. That will be as a user or URL. I hope friend every part is very clear. So there is a request handler and then I name it as users. So there is a users and our model name for the user as a user, right? So that is with this user I want to find all the data. Then in our response JSON that success will be as a true and I want to then to pass that our user data. Great. So that's all for the user, get all the data. Now if you click as a save all and now go to that our API and now I want to create another request for this. Click as a add request. I name it as a fetch. Okay, fetch user data. So I simply name it as a fetch user data. Click as the new one. Now that is our user data. So I simply copy it and then that will be our user because here I have already named it as a user, right? And that will be on the get method. For the reasons I make it as a get method. Now click as a send. Now that should be get all that our user data. You can see status as a 200, which is totally fine. And then you can see a success. I pass it as a true and that is all that our user data. Okay, so you can see if you go to our database, into the database, if you go to that user, right now that's all that our user data. That is a 4 user data right now. And you can see that successfully get all that our 4 user data. Perfect. How much easily you get it, how much easily you post it. I hope everything is very much clear to you. In our next video, I want to get a specific some of the user data or a specific some of the task data. Okay, like here there is one of the specific user. If you want to get that specific ID data for the user, if you want to get some of the specific data for the task, how can do that work? In our next video, I will show you that things with the live all that our user data, task data, right? Now in this video, I want to get a specific some of the user data. Like if you go to our database, into this database, if you go to that our task and into this task, like there is one of the ID and also there is another ID and there is another one, right? Now I want to get a specific some of the ID data. So if you want to do that work, it's very simple. Like I better copy it and then I want to paste it. Okay. So here I will actually take one data so that I make it as a task. So after the task URL, here I want to pass one of the ID, right? Here we have to also pass one of the ID. So I simply added one of the ID. And then that will be as asynchronous and I pass that a request and then response and then I take one of the variable as a task. Okay. And then in our await and there is a task and with this task model, I want to now use another method as a find by ID method. So I simply loaded that find by ID. So with this find by ID, now we have to take our requested ID, right? Requested ID means our this ID. So if you want to get this ID, what exactly we have to do? I have already discussed about that things with you before. That will be as a request. And if you want to access this ID, that is in our parameter, right? So here we have to add that our params and into these params, I want to access this ID. Great. So I simply get our requested ID and now it will be checking our model with this task model. It will be check it. It will be take that data and take the things with this variable. And then in our return JSON, a success will be as a true. And here I simply pass this data. Okay. So that's all you have to do for get a specific some of the ID task data. Now I want to check it. Click as a save all. Here I simply click as a save all. And now if you go to our postman, into this postman I want to create another API. Okay, here I want to create new request and I just name it as a fetch one data. Okay, I simply added that as a fetch one data. Now click as a save all. Now there is a new one and here that will be just like that same because here also you have to make it as a get method, right? I simply added that get method and our URL will be as a task and then ID. Right, I simply added that our user and then I make it as a task and that is our URL. And here after that we have to add one of the ID, right? Here there is one of the ID. So which ID data you want to get? Like if you go to our database, into this database, that is all that our task. Right now I want to get this data. So if you want to get it, that is one of the ID. Better I copy it. And now in our postman, I simply paste it. Okay. Now if you click as a send, that will be on the get method. Now that should be get a specific this ID data. You can see it's now successfully get it. There is a success as a true, and this is a new one description, right? I have simply copied this one, and now it successfully get a specific this ID task, right? And you can see it's now successfully get this data. I hope friend it's very much clear to you. And also if you want to do the same things for the user, because there have also a lot of the users, I want to get a specific some of the user data. If you want to do that work, first of all, better I copy it. Okay, copy this one and then I paste it. Simple work we have to do. I make it as a just user, and then that will be as a user. And also here we have to pass that our ID. I simply pass this ID with our user model. Now we have to load our find by ID, right? So that will be the find by ID. So I simply, if you want to access it, that will be in our request, and then the params, that is a params, and then ID. I simply take this ID, take the things with this variable. Now in our return JSON, I simply load that our user. Great. So then that's all. That's all you have to do. Okay, that's all you have to do. Now click as a save all. I click as a save all. Now I want to create another new one. I create another new request. I make it as a fetch one for user or just user. Okay, I make it as a fetch one user. Now click as a save it. Now everything will be just like that same. Better I copy this one, and now that is our new one. New one is this fetch one user. I simply paste it. That will be one of the get method. Here I will name it. I name it as user and then the ID, right? I want to do to get this ID like in our user as a kazi@gmail.com. That is one of the ID. I simply copy this ID, and now in our postman after that user, I simply add that ID. Now click as a send. Now that should be get one data. You can see it's now successfully get one data as a kazi@gmail.com with this ID. It's now successfully get this data. If you want to get new one like as a aryan@gmail.com, another one, I copy it, and then here if you paste it, now that should be get our another one. Okay, now that should be get our another ID. Now click as a send. Yes, you can see it's now successfully get our this ID related all that user data. How much easily you can do that work, friend? I hope it's very much clear to you. So that is for the get a specific some of the ID tasks. It gets a specific some of the user ID. Okay, in our next video I will discuss about how can update some of the data. Okay, how can do that work. In our next video I will show you that things with some of the specific user ID data, how can get some of the specific task ID data, right? Now there is another part. I have already done that post, get, and then ID get, and now I want to discuss about update. So if you want to update it, that will be one of the patch methods, right? Now I want to specific some of the user data I want to update. If you want to do that work, better here I code it as an app, and then that will be one of the patch method. So I make it as a patch. Okay, so that will be the patch method, and our URL will be as a, I make it as a user, and then a specific some of the ID that I want to update. So for the reasons I simply added that user ID data. Okay, and then our same procedure here, that will be as asynchronous. I make it as a asynchronous, and then here we have to add around the handle, that is request handler. Here it will be passed two of this parameter. One is the request, another is the response, right? I simply pass both of this in here, and then our array function, same procedure we have to do. So here first of all I want to do and to update with find and by ID and update method. Okay, here I hope you already remembered that part. I have already discussed about that things with you. Then that will be one of the constant. I just simply take that constant variable as a user, and into this user that will be obviously one of the await, and then our model name as a user model, and into this user model area I want to add that as a find. Okay, find and update. You can see there is a find by ID and update. So with this method now I want to pass our two of this parameter. First one will be as our ID, that means that is our requested ID. So if you want to access this requested ID, then here we have to make it as a request, and then the params, because if you want to access it, that will be as a params parameter ID, right? And also we have to pass our total data. You will get everything into the request body. Before I have already discussed about that things with you, that it will be as a request body, because into this request body area we'll get all that our data, right? I simply take it in here, and then I want to pass some of the options. That is a new I want to do and to make it as a true. Okay, new will be as a true. New will be true means whatever the data will be updated, so this new data will be saved in our this user area. Okay, so that is our new. And also I want to add another option for the validator, that is a run validator, right? That is a run validators. So with this run validator, I want to also make it as a true, so I make it as a true. Run validator means what? Run validator means I have already added some of the validation, right? In our user model, if you go to that user, here you can say I have already added some of the validation for the email, age. So it should be check all that validation and then it should be updated. For the reasons here, I make that as a run validator. Okay, I hope both of this is very much clear to you. And now I want to do if there have any inappropriate user. Okay, that means if this user is not exist, then I want to show some of the message. For that reason, I want to add one of the condition. Okay, I want to add another if condition. If that user is not exist, okay, that is not that user. Here I want to pass some of the return status value. That means I want to return and then with the response status, so that is our response status, I want to pass one of the 404 status. Okay, so that will be as a 404. Great. And also I make it as a JSON, so that will be into the JSON area. I want to pass on the JSON message as a success. Our success will be then as a false, right? Because they have some of the issues, then that will be our success will be as a false. And also I want to pass on the message, or message, whatever the message you want to display. Like I want to display one of the message as a user not found. So this type of the message, then that will be displayed. Okay friend, I hope it's very much clear to you. So that is the same condition you can also apply. Okay, that is the same condition also you can apply for our user ID, because I have already done that our user ID, right? So into this user ID, if you want to add the same condition, you can also add this condition, then just simply paste it. That means if this user, if not get any perfect user, then that will be our status code will be as a 404. That will be into the JSON format. I pass as a success will be false, and then message will be user not found. Right? You can also add the same things for the task. If this task is not matched, then that will be display another error. But I show you, but I just copy it. Okay, just copy it, and also I want to apply it in here. That is in our task. After that task, I want to paste it. Then that will be our task. Okay, then that will be the task, and then here it will be display this message, and it will be started in here. After that, we want to finish it. I simply finish it. Now our error is gone, and also the same things in here. That is our status is we started. After that, I want to finish it. Okay, great. You can also add the same things for the user. You can also add the same things for the task, and that is for our patch method. Okay, that is for the update. So if we get any user issues, then that will be our success will be as a false, and it will be displayed on the user not found message. Rather than I want to pass one of the user message. That means if everything okay. Okay, if everything okay here, after this I want to return another JSON format data. That will be the return. The return and then the response JSON area. I want to pass as a success will be as a true, right? Then the success, our success will be then as a true, and also I want to pass our data. So that is all the data in here. That is the user. I simply pass it. Great. So friend, that's all you have to do for update your specific some of the user ID data. And also if you want to add that as a try catch, you can also add it in here. Better I add this, then that will be better. Okay, if you get any error, by default it should be display all that our error into the catch, rather than everything will be in our try, right? So in our try and catch method, which I have already discussed about it. So now that will be as a try, and then I want to use another one as a catch, right? So that will be as a catch method. So that is our catch method. Great. So into the catch method, our procedure will be same. I pass one of the element in here, and then simple things here. I want to return one of the status code. That will be the return, and return one of the response. And into this response area, I want to pass that our status, and into this status, I want to pass our status code as a 400. Okay, I simply pass that 400, and then also into the JSON data. I want to pass that some of the message will be as a success, right? Our success will be then as a false, and I want to make it as a false. Okay, I want to make it as a false, and then our message will be our event message, right? So that will be message, and message will be our e message. So I simply added that message. Great. Simply that is our catch, and if everything okay, that will be check in our try method, right? So try method will be check our everything. Better I simply cart it all the data. So I simply cart right now all the data. I cart it. Okay, I cart it from to this position, and then in our try, into this try area, I paste it. Okay, so I simply, that is our try, and that is our catch. Great. So now I want to check it. Okay, I want to check our total patch method is executed or not. Click as a save all. Now go there. I want to create another new request as an add request. I make it as a user update. Okay, user update. Now click as a save. And now I want to access it. First of all, the user I want to get, like a specific some of the user. First of all, I want to take it. Now click as a send. Now that should be get one of the user data. Okay, so into this user data area, now I want to update some of the name. If you want to update that email, you can actually update it. So first of all, it should be get this data. Now if you want to update, now I want to make it as a, that will be as a patch method, right? Because I want to update it from here. That will be as a patch method. Now go to that body, and then go to that our row, and I make this file as a JSON. Now I want to update in here. I want to update like as a what data I want to update. Like that is actually our task, and that is our user, right? I want to update that age. Okay, I want to update that age, so that will be here. I want to make it as a age, and age I want to update. Okay, I want to update age as a like as a 60 right now, so that will be as a 60. So that is one of the patch method. A specific some of the user data, now that should be updated. Before that was as a 40, now that should be updated as a 60. Now click as a send. Yes, you can see it's now successfully updated that our data as a 60. If you also check it in our database, into this database, before that is actually our ID. Now that should be updated. Like here, that is our Aryan, and then aryan@gmail.com, right? So that is aryan@gmail.com. Before that was a 40. Now if you refresh it, yes, you can see it's now successfully updated as a 60. Great. That means our update position is now successfully working. And now if you also, I added another validation, right? Here I have added that validation. If this user is not exist, then that will be displayed as a success will be false, and message will be displayed as a user not found. Now let's check this out. If you make it some of the inappropriate ID, like this ID is not exist. Okay, now if you click as a send it again, yes, now you can see it's now display as a success as a false, and message also display. So this message actually executed. You can see that is our 400 bad request. So this 400 bad request means that is actually comes from our this catch. Okay, into this catch method, that will be display our success as a false, and message will be as a e and then message. Now that is display, but I want to change that ID again. Here our before ID as a 26, right? So that is a 26 ID. I want to make it as a 69. Okay, so if this user is not exist, now then what exactly that will be do? Click as a send. Yes, you can see now that is display as a 404 not found, and success as a false, and user as a user not found. So now that is display our this one, because this user is not exist. So when this user will be not exist, I simply pass that status code as a 404, and message I pass it as a user not found. For the reasons you can see it's now display as a user not found, and also is display as a false. Great. Okay friends, so I have successfully done this job for the user. Now your task to complete the task update, like that will be just like that same. Here I have all whatever the things I have done for the update user, just simply do the same things for the task. Okay, so you can see there is a task ID. So if you want to update some of the task ID, then how can do that work? So that is your task. Simply flow all the steps for update user, and then apply the same things for the task. Okay, so that is your task. Let me know about your update. If you face any issues, just let me know about it. I will be in touch. In our next video, I will discuss about how can delete this data from to the data. Complete that update user positions. Now there is another part as a delete. Okay, so there is user delete. So that will be very easy, all that process. Better after this. Okay, after this I want to take new one. I simply name it as a app. And then that will be one of the delete method, right? Because I want to delete it. So that is our delete method, and then same procedure we have to flow. We have to use that our I want to use that user delete that user, and then user specific some of the ID. Okay, with this ID I want to delete this user, then that will be the same process as asynchronize. Okay, same procedure here we have to now apply that there is asynchronize, and here we have to add that one of the request handler, that is a response and then request, right? First of all I have to make it as a request and then the response. Simple, and then array function, and here I want to do that will be same procedure as a constant variable I want to take. Okay, I take on the constant variable as a user, and then that will be as the await. So I will just simply added that await. So then that will be the await, and into this await area that is our user model. And now I want to do for delete a specific ID data, then we have to run another method as a find by. Okay, find by ID and delete. Now with this method I want to simply delete our which ID. I want to delete it our requested ID. So if you want to access this requested ID, then you have to use it as a request, and then our params into this params area, then that is actually our ID. Okay, I simply added this ID. And also if you want to check that the user is exist or not, that will be just like that same. Okay, here you can actually add this condition. Better I copy it. I simply copy that things from here, and now I want to apply it in particular that position. Okay, it should be check if this user is not exist, then that will be our status code will be as a 404 JSON data. I pass on the message as a user not found, and else it should be display as a success message. That means that will be as a return. Okay, return, I want to return one of the response JSON data, that will be response JSON, and JSON data will be as the same as a success. So I make it as a success will be as a true, right? Success will be as a true, and here I want to pass out this user data. Simple. I simply pass this user data. Okay friend, I hope you practicing it. So if you practice, I think it not should be very hard for you. It's very easy, all that process. Simple understand. I just simply updated our method name as a find by ID delete method. Okay, so with this method it should be get that a specific ID data. Which ID will be get? It should be delete this data. Okay, now let's check this out. Click as a save all. Now go to our text, that is postman. Into this postman, that is all I want to click as a add request. I make it as a user delete. Okay, so user delete. Now click as a save. Now that is our user delete. For that user delete here, better I want to find out this user. I copy it, so that is a name as aryan@gmail.com, right? Now I want to paste it, so that will be one of the delete method. I simply select this as a delete method, and right now in our user there is a 4 data. Okay, there is the 4 data. Now if you click as a send, now you can see it's now successfully display as a success message, and user as a aryan@gmail.com is now deleted. Okay, if you now go to our database, now if you refresh it, now you can see now there is a 3, and our aryan@gmail.com is now successfully deleted from our database. And also if you want to add that as a try or catch method, you can also use that try and catch method, which I have done for the patch. Okay, so here there is a patch method and there is a try. So into this try area you have to add everything, and then there is our catch. Simple things, just simply apply it in for the delete. Okay, if you want to use that as a try or catch method, you can use it. So how can delete that user, specific some of the requested user? I hope it's very clear to you. So now your task is to complete our another one as a task delete. Okay, simply just copy it, and then that will be a task and then ID, and then our task model, the same method. Here we have to pass that same ID and simply the same job. Okay, simple, the same job, because if you go to our database, into the database there is a task. Right now they have some of the tasks and they have some of the ID. So if you want to delete some of the specific ID, I think it's very clear, but I show you is very clear actually. Easy. I copy it and then I paste it, so that will be as a task. Okay, that will be as a task and then ID. Everything will be same. Our model will be just changed. Our model will be as a task model. Okay, that will be as a task model. I take one of the variable as a task, and then that will be as a task. Okay, that will be as a task, and then if we do not get any task, then that will be display or this error message. Okay, and right then it should be pass this success message as a true as a task. Great, so that's all for delete that task, a specific some of the ID. Okay, now simply create one of the API, and then if you check this with API, I hope you already know about this part. Okay, that will be for the task delete. Then our task delete will be done. Everything is great, which I have already done. Right now, better I show you. I create new one. So as I told you friend, if you practice it now, that should be very easy to you because it's not much hard. So I make it as a task delect. Okay, delect, task delect. Now I simply save it, and now that should be new one. I want to delete some of the text, so I simply copy it because that will be just like that same. I copy it and then I paste it. Now that will be one of the delete method, and for the text I name it as a text and then the ID, right? So that will be our task and then our text ID. If you go to our database, I want to delete like this one. Okay, so that is one of the ID. I copy this ID, and now here after that, after the task, I simply added that our ID. Okay, and now if you make it as a delete, that means a send. Now this task should be deleted. You can see that is our delete is successful, or status as a true. If you go to our database, before that was a 3. Now if you refresh it, yes, you can see it's now successfully deleted from to the task. Okay, how can do that work friend? I hope it's very much clear. That there are the 5 APIs. Here we successfully complete everything, right? Now I want to do, I have already created all the our route for the task, for the user, all the route I have added in particular this index.js area. So now I want to segment it. I want to segment it just like our models. I have already created another model folder, and all that our task related model, everything I have added in here. And also for the user, I have already done everything in here, right? All that our validation, model input, everything I have done in particular this user area, and also for the task I have done that task. Now I want to segment all that our routes. Okay, so if you want to do that work in our tags, into this tags area, I want to create one of the new folder, and I just name it as a route. Okay, I name it as a routes. So this type of one of the folder I simply created, and here I want to create one of the new file. Okay, I created the new file, and I just name it as a task.js, and also I want to create another file as a for the user. Create a new file, and I name it as a user.js. Okay, I simply created both of this file in here. Now I want to take everything. Right now our user tags will be not needed. In our index, from to the index one by one, I want to take all that our routes. Like first of all, that is our post route, right? Here I have already done it. Better I simply select it and I cart it from to this position. That will be in our task. So to the task I paste it, and I again go to there. There is another one as a user. I simply cart it. So user related everything I want to save it in our user.js. And also there is another task, and also there is also another task, right? I take both of these, I cart it from here, and now into the task area. After this I paste it. Okay, and then also this one for the user, I simply cart both of these, and also that is for the user, that is also for the user. I simply select everything and I cart it, and now in our user, after this I paste it. All the route what exactly I have done for the create the code application, I simply add all that our routes. You can see there is all that our routes. Great. And now there is another one as a task ID. I simply cart it, and then that will be in our task, and then I paste it. Okay, I simply make it as a clean. So right now our index is totally clean. Okay, index is totally clean, everything is great. So now first of all, in our task, into this task area, we have to load our model, right? I have already created on the model for the task as a task model. So here we have to import it. I simply wanted to, here in particular that position, I take that constant. So that will be as a constant, and into this constant area, here I name it as a task, right? So that will be as a task, cause from to the task model, I have exported by the task. Okay, so now I simply take it, and now that is our task, and task here I want to require it. That means here I have to import, that will be the require, and require our folder name. First of all, we have to go outside from to this folder, and you can see there is a model, and after that model, then I want to access our model name as a task. Okay, I simply import our task. Great. And also we have to do, I want to actually pass all that our route, right? So here if you want to pass this route, here also we have to load that express and also express router. Both of these, first of all, I want to take it in here. First of all, I want to take our express. So that is a constant, and I just name it as the express, and then I want to require it. required that express model, that means express module. Okay, I simply load this express module. Great. And also I want to take that our express router. So for the reasons here, I take that another constant, okay, constant variable, and then I name it as a router, and then the express, and there is also another method in our express as a express router. I simply call this our router method in here. Now we have to do before this app, okay, before this app we have to pass that router. That's all you have to do. So now I simply select it, that will be as a router, and then the app. Okay, every our places we have to now add this router. I copy it, and also here there is another one, I paste it. So that will be the router. Better I copy it again, I paste it, and also there is another one for the delete, I paste it. Great. Okay, so that is a router app for delete, router app for get. Every data here I simply added that router. Now we have to export this router. Okay, here in particular this page here, after this I want to export it. That will be as a module. Okay, module, and then exports. So that is the exports, and with this exports I want to export that router. Okay, I will simply export this router. I hope friend it's very much clear to you. So now I want to do the same things. Okay, I want to do the same things for our user. Better I copy it because that will be the just like that same, only our model will be changed. I go to that user, and into this user I paste it. Okay, first of all that will be our name. Our name will be as a user, it will be required our path name, right? So that will be our path. So I want to do here, first of all we have to go outside from to this folder, like that is our model folder, and into this model folder now I want to take our user, right? So that will be our user model, and I want to load that express, which will be just like that same. The router will be same as the express router. Okay, I simply take it. Now I want to pass all the things in here. That means I want to pass that router in our every app. So that will be the router and then app. Great. Better I copy it, and now I want to do the same things for our every positions. That is a router app, again router app, also again here I want to add that router app, and also there is another one for the delete. I want to simply add it. Okay, I hope friend it's very much clear to you. And also we have to export it right now. That means that will be just like that same. Better I copy it from to the task, and in our user, after this I paste it. Okay, you can use that semicolon, that will be better. There is a export, there is a module export as a router module. I simply export from here. Okay, now we have to do, better is click the save all, and now we have to take both of these routes. Okay, both of these routes in our index. So into the index I want to do, better right now we don't need this. Okay, or better I remove both of these from here, because I have already take both of this in our task and then user. So I name one of the variable as a user. Okay, I name it as a user and then router. Okay, routes, user routes, and for the user routes here, that will be the required because we have to input it. So that means that will be the require. Okay, that will be the require. That means the input, and then I want to take first of all our position. So that is in our same place. That means that here we have to go to that routes folder, right? So into this routes folder, then I have already created for the user, that will be the user, right? I simply import it, and also there is another one. I take that name as a task. Okay, I name it as a task routes, and then that will be the require. And then here the same condition, that first of all that will be go to that routes folder, and then into the routes I have created another file as a task. Okay, I simply take both of these in here. So right now all that our user related routes I have take it in particular this variable, and also all that our routes related routes I take it in here, right? So now we have to pass it through the middleware. Here only we have to declare two of this middleware as an app, and then if you want to create that middleware, then that will be the use, right? So now with this use I want to pass our all that user routes. I simply pass it, and also the same I want to pass our task route, that will be app use, and then I want to pass that our task route. Okay, copy it, and then here I simply pass it. So there is two of this middleware for the user, another is for the task. Now let's check this out, or everything is perfectly working or not. I click the save all, and now if you go to our database, see to this database right now, into the task there is a 2 data, and for the user they have the like as a 3 data, right? First of all, now go to that postman, and into the postman I have already created all that our route. Now I want to recheck it, all that route. If you go, so that is for the task, right? So for the task, there is another get method, that means it will be get all that our data. Now click as a send. Now it show as a could not send that request, that means it's not get that request. That means they have some of the issues. If you go to our index, into the index I have already loaded both of these. I loaded that user and then task. Into the task area here I have already exported that router, and I have exported that router. You can see I'm actually using that things in here, so that will be replace our app, okay, not that here. That will be replace our this app. I simply paste it. Now that will be as a router, and then the post, you can see they have, so also now they have no error. I copy it, and you can see they have some of the issues. As a property, app does not exist on type router, okay, before actually. Now we have to simply check it, change it. I want to replace that router. App I replace with the router, and also here app I replace with the router. Okay, I simply updated that things in our task, and also we have to do the same things for the user. That will be as a only router, okay, router, and then again the router. I want to take that as a router. Also there is another one, and also there is another one. Okay, great. Now that should be work. Before they have some of the issues. Now there is our router, and then our patch method. You can see they have also no error. Now there is a get method, router get, and router user, that is post. Now let's check this out. Click as a save all. Now go to our postman again, into the task, because right now into the task area they have the 2 data, right? So now these 2 of this data should become. Now if you click as a send, yes, you can see now it's perfectly get both of these data. So right now they have the 2 data, and for the get method for the user, if you click as a send, yes, for the user they have the 3 data, and status code as a 200. Everything work perfectly. Okay friend, now we organize all that our route. Okay, how can do that work? I hope it's very much clear to you. So here I have already take everything in our task area. I have take all that our user related URL, that means the route I have take it in our user.js, and then in our index, into the index both of these our route for the user, route for the task. I created 2 of this middleware, and here I pass both of these. Okay, only the issue that will be as our router in here, we have to replace our app to the router. So friend, that's all. I hope friend you will like it very much. Now our index file is very clean. Okay, it's not totally clean. So how can segment your router, how can export some of the router, how can import it? I hope now it's very right. All that our routes I have added, all that our user related routes I have added into the user, and also all that our task related route I have added into the task, right? And in here I have added that our route, and also here that is all that our function. Now I want to segment our this function. Okay, only all that our routes will be in our particular route area, all that our function will be in our another place. So how can do that work? For doing this, we have to do here better, that is our task folder. Into the task folder, now I want to create another new folder, and I just name it as a controller. I name it as a controller, and into the controller area here I want to create 2 of this new file. One is the for the task, one is the task.js, or you can use whatever the name actually you choose. Right now I use that as a task.js, and also want to create another new file, and I name it as a user.js. Okay, both of these files I simply created. Great. Now if you go to our route, that means our task route, into the task route, that is all that our function. I simply select this function. Okay, I simply select this function, and then from here I cart it. Okay, I cart it from to this area, and now in our task controller, into the task controller here I simply added that name as a export. From here you can also export it one by one, rather than if you want to export it that is the module, you can also export it. Okay, right now I simply add that as a export, and I just name it as a store. Okay, store task, and then here I paste it. Okay, I simply paste our total things in here. I hope friend it's very much clear to you. So now also we have to export it. So I will do that work. Right now that is our one task. I simply complete it. That is one of the post, right? For the reasons here I name it as a store. So I name it as a store task. And then also another one. So this one for the get data. So I simply cart it. I simply cart it from to this position. That is our another one. Because how much now clean it is. Now there is our another one, and that is for the all task. I want to take another name. Okay, here that will be the export. Okay, that will be the exports, and then I name it as a fetch all task. Okay, fetch all task, and then here I want to paste it. Okay, so then that will be our function, and that will be our method name. Great. And now also I want to take our another one, that is for the get a specific single task, right? Now I want to take this part also. I cart it, and then in our task area I want to name it as export, and I name it as a get single task. Okay, get single task. This type of one of the name, and then I want to paste it. Okay, I simply paste it in here, which is totally fine. And also there is another one, this one for the update, right? I want to take this functionality. I simply cart it functionality from here, and now in our task, into the task area I want to name it as export. Okay, export, and then the update. Okay, update task, I simply paste it. Great. I hope it's very much clear to you. I simply take our export name. There is our another one as a single task, fetch all data, and then store task. Now that is our all the task, right? We have to load this task model. So in the here I want to take it. That will be the same as a constant, and then the task. So just simply understand, friend, how that functionality actually work. Okay, because that is very much important things. If you want to segment all that your route, if you want to segment all that your functions, how can do that work? Now that should be very clear. Okay, into this required right now, I just simply take that our file name or file folder name, that will be into our model folder, right? Into the model folder I have to simply take it our another one as a task. So that is our task. Okay, as I told you, friend, just simply understand all that procedure. How can actually segment all that your routes, how can segment all that your functions. Right now that is all that our function, right? I simply required it, that is our model task. I simply loaded that things in here. So we successfully complete our task portion. Now we have to work in our user, right? So first of all, that is our user route. Better I take it in here, right? That is our route. So how we have to first of all load our model. I copy it. So the controller I load this model, that will be our user, right? I make it as a user, and into the model task here. Right now I want to load our again this folder. There is a model folder, and into this model folder now I want to load our model as a user. Great. And our rest procedure will be same. If you go to that our user, into the user, first of all there is a post, right? That means the create user. I want to take it. Okay, I take it and I cart it from to this position, and now in our user I want to exports. I name it as a create user. Okay, create, what of the name actually choose. Right now I am actually using that create user, which is totally fine. Great. And also there is another one is a get all that user. I simply cart it, and then I make it as that will be the get user. Okay, after that I name as exports, and then get all user, and then I simply paste this or all that function. Okay, all that function for the get user, which I have already done it before. And now there is also another one as this one is for find by ID, right? That means this one is for the get single data. So I want to simply cart it, and now in our users I name it as exports, and then get single user. Okay, get single user, and then I paste it. Great. And also there is another one as a patch method. That means that is for the update. I simply take all the things from here, all that are functions, I cart it, And now in our user, I name another one as exports, and then update user. Okay, update user, and I paste it everything in here. Great. So that is our total function. Great. And also now another one, this one is for the delete. I cart it. Okay, cart it from to this area, and now in our user, I want to take it, that will be the exports, and then I make it as a delete. Okay, delete user, and then our function. Okay, function for the delete. Great. So I successfully updated all that information. So now go back to our task.js. So into the task.js, that is all that our route, right? Better I take it in one line. So everything is great. So first of all, here right now we don't need this, because of all, if you go to our task, I have already into the task controller, I have loaded our this model, right? Right now we don't need this. I simply remove it. Here only we have to load our controller. So if you want to load this controller, now we have to do, if you want to load it, then that will be the constant, into the constant with the curly bracket. Okay, with this curly bracket, it should be get it, and now I want to require it. That means I want to import, that will be the require. Okay, that will be the require, and require our folder name, that is from here. We have to go to that controller folder, and into this controller folder for the task, I have created that task. Now I simply load it. Great. So I loaded our task, and into this task area, now I have created all that our function, right? That is all that our function as a storage task. Now I copy it, and now we have to one by one add the things in here. Okay, better in particular that position, I simply add one. And also there is another one I have created as a fetch all task. I paste it, and also there is another one is a get single task. I will simply take this guest in index task, single task, and then there is a update task, right? I copy it, and then after that I simply paste it. Okay, I hope it's very much clear to you. And now one by one we have to pass it in our this URL area. Okay, here I simply pass that is to task, I pass that fetch all data, I pass that single one, and also this one for the update. Okay, I simply pass it. How much easy process? I hope it's very clear. So you just understand that process, friends. So that is very much important. So now our storage task, I pass it in here. Our fetch data, all that functions, now I added in here. That is a get single task I added, and the update task I also added in here. Okay, so here we successfully done it for the task. Now we have to do the same things for the user. So our process will be just like that same. Better right now I save it in one line. Everything here, everything is in here. Great. Now that is our user, all that route here. First of all, now we don't need this model, because in our user I have already loaded, you can see into the user controller I have already loaded that our user model. Now only we have to import this controller, and also we have to get all that our method. Right now we don't need this. I simply remove it, and then if you want to get it, then that will be as one of the curly bracket into this curly bracket area. Here first of all you have to load it, that will be the require, right? So that will be the require, and into this require area we have to load, that will be our folder name as a controller. Into the controller now we have to load that our another controller that I have created as a user. Great. Now one by one we have to also add all that our name, that is method name as a create user. I copy it, and then that will be here as a create user. I want to take another one. Very easy process actually. I copy it, and then I paste it. Just simply, as I told you, it's very important. You have to just remember how that process actually you have to done. Okay, and then also another one as a update user. I copy it, and then here I paste it. That will be the update user, and then another one as a delete user. I copy it, and then that will be as a delete user. Okay, sorry, here that will be as a delete user. Great. Now our process will be same for the create. I want to pass it, that is our create user method, and then the get user. I simply pass that get user, get single, get update, and this one for the delete. Okay, I simply pass it. So friend, that's all you have to do. So now if you click at the save all, and better if you want to also check that our database is connected or not, I simply open the terminal, and to the terminal you can see our database is now successfully connected, as a database is connected. Great. Now if you go, and again I want to check our get data is perfectly get this data or not, click the send. Yes, you can see it's now successfully get all the data. If you go there, now there is a true data. Now click the send. Now that should be get the true data. Yes, you can see it's also successfully get this data. Okay. And if you want to check it is perfectly get from our database or not, you can also check it. Like there is a task, into the task area I make it as a new update. Okay, new update 1. So this type of one of the name I simply update. Now let's check this out. This data is getted or not in our task. Into the task there is a before there is a this is a task 1 and this is a task 1, right? I want to do to send it. Yes, you can see it's now perfectly get this data from our database. So into this database I have updated this one, and now it's perfectly updated. I hope friend it's very much clear to you how can segment all that your data. That means how can segment all that your functions, how can segment all that your routes. Right now all that our route will be in route area, all that our controller, that means all that our functions will be in our controller area, and into the index area I simply loaded both of this. How much organized code is right now? Okay friend, so that's all you have to do. I hope it's very much clear to you, but you have to practice